Yo fam, we're about to dive deep into the world of international relations, but not the boring kind they teach in those fancy schools. We're talking about Marxism, a way of looking at the world that explains why things are so messed up and how we might be able to fix them. Think of it as economics meets history, all about power, who has it and who doesn't. Marxism says that to understand global politics, we gotta understand the global economy. It's like trying to understand a rap battle without knowing anything about hip-hop. You're missing the whole point. Marxism argues that the way countries interact is all about money, power, and who's exploiting whom. This ain't just some abstract theory though. It helps us understand things like colonialism, poverty, and even war. Remember when European powers carved up Africa like a pizza? Marxism helps us see how that wasn't just about some land grab. It was about controlling resources and making bank. So buckle up, Buttercup. We're about to take a wild ride through the world of Marxism and see how it helps us make sense of this crazy, mixed-up world. Marxism says that history is basically a soap opera, but instead of love triangles, it's all about class struggle. You got the haves, the bourgeoisie, who own all the stuff. Then you got the have-nots, the proletariat, who do all the work. Think of it like this. You got the factory owner chilling in his mansion, sipping champagne, while the workers are sweating it out on the factory floor, making him rich. Not exactly a fair system, right? Marx argued that this struggle between the classes is what drives history forward. The workers want a bigger slice of the pie, while the owners want to keep it all for themselves. This leads to tension, conflict, and sometimes even revolution. This struggle isn't just happening within countries though, it's happening on a global scale too. Rich countries like the ones in the global north have historically exploited poorer countries in the global south, taking their resources and using their cheap labor. Now let's talk about how this class struggle plays out on the world stage. This is where world systems theory comes in. It says that the global economy is set up in a way that benefits the rich countries or the core at the expense of the poor countries or the periphery. Think of it like a giant spider web. The core countries are at the center, calling all the shots. They get to make the rules, control the money, and basically do whatever they want. The periphery countries are stuck on the edges, providing cheap labor and resources to keep the core humming along. Then you got the semi-periphery countries, stuck in between, trying to climb the ladder but often getting pulled back down. It's like they're stuck in the middle class of the world, never quite making it to the top. Dependency theory takes this a step further and says that this whole system is rigged from the start. The core countries intentionally keep the periphery countries dependent on them, ensuring they can continue to exploit their resources and labor. Section 4. Marxism's mark on global politics. Now, how does Marxism actually play out in international relations? Well, it helps us understand a lot of things. Remember colonialism? Marxists argue that it wasn't just about European countries wanting to paint the map their favorite color. It was about economic exploitation, plain and simple. They wanted access to resources, cheap labor, and new markets to sell their stuff, and they didn't care who they had to step on to get it. Even today, we see the legacy of colonialism in the global economy. Many former colonies are still stuck in the periphery, struggling to develop their economies and break free from the grip of neo-colonialism. Marxism also helps us understand things like war and conflict. When resources are scarce and countries are competing for power, things can get heated pretty quickly. Think about it. How many wars have been fought over oil or other valuable resources? Section 5. Not perfect, but still relevant. Addressing critiques of Marxism. Now, let's keep it real. Marxism has its fair share of critics. Some say it's too focused on economics and ignores other important factors like culture, religion, and nationalism. Others argue that it's too simplistic and doesn't account for the complexities of human behavior. And then there's the whole track record of communist regimes in the 20th century. Things didn't exactly go so well in places like the Soviet Union and China, to put it mildly. But hey, just because some regimes twisted Marx's ideas doesn't mean the whole theory is trash. It's like blaming a recipe for a burnt cake. Maybe the baker just didn't follow the instructions right, you know? The point is, Marxism still offers valuable insights into how power operates in the world, and how we can create a more just and equitable society. Section 6. Marxism today, fueling the fight for social justice. So, what's Marxism got to do with us today? A lot, actually. We're seeing a resurgence of interest in Marxist ideas, especially among young people who are fed up with inequality and injustice. From the streets of Seattle to the heart of London, people are rising up and demanding change. They're calling out the 1% who hoard wealth while others struggle to make ends meet. They're demanding better wages, affordable healthcare, and an end to systemic racism and discrimination. Marxism provides a framework for understanding these struggles and a language for articulating our demands. It reminds us that we're not alone in this fight, that there's power in solidarity, and that together we can create a better world for everyone.